right, folks, welcome back to the TNT show. We got another heater for y'all. We got our mid-season NFL update. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right into that. Obviously, a lot of teams out here are, you know, contending. We got other teams that are, looking to make that run, and the other teams who just, you know, they got to pack it up, look forward to next season. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into it. Tyler, I'll go ahead and let you take it away.
Yeah, like you said, yeah, we got a lot of teams that it seems like it's year in, year out for some of these teams. They just can't really seem to get it figured out. The mid teams, a little bit of surprises on here. And then the top teams, honestly, they've been top for quite a few years now, so really no big surprises. There's a few surprises in the top teams, but let's start with I guess the bottom level teams, whatever you want to call them. Some of them are, trash, terrible. Some of them are due to injuries, so take some of them with a grain of salt. So the bottom teams are in no particular order. We got the Patriots, the Giants, the Browns, the Jaguars, the Titans, the Raiders, the Panthers, and the Jets. Honorable mentions are going to go to the Saints, Miami, and Dallas. We had Dallas in the mid tier, but now with Dak hurt, and they've been pretty bad all year, we put them kind of in the honorable mention mid teams. Um, but yeah, starting off with the bottom tier teams, let's start off with the Patriots. Um, they got him a good young QB with Drake May. It's there. They've seen, he's playing pretty good. They've seen I guess they kind of got what they wanted, put it that way. They just really need offensive linemen and some wide receivers, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, with the Patriots, you like what you see in Drake May. As a fan, I definitely like what I see. Obviously, he's going to have his rookie moments where he's going to make mistakes. And it's good that he's getting his experience now. I think it was the perfect time to make that switch at quarterback. I mean, obviously he can use his legs to extend plays, make plays and stuff like that. So you like what you have in him, just get him some offensive linemen. Now, of course, this season they've had injuries across the offensive line, so it's a makeshift offensive line right now. So once
Yeah.
their regular guys come back and they add into that, I think it'll be a lot better protection wise for him. Just get him some weapons. We need some guys that can really change the game. I think right now we got guys who are more like possession receivers or rotation guys, but we don't have like a game breaker.
A true number one, yeah.
Yeah. So I think other than that, just
It's just going to take time. They're going to have to prove to some people, you know, they could have got Brandon Ayuk, but he chose not to go there. And I understand that. You as a receiver on his kind of level, you don't want to go somewhere to win 4 or 5 games. You want to be competing for, you know, playoff spots, Super Bowl runs. It's
absolutely.
not gonna be cheap for the Patriots, but if they can start winning games, show people, okay, we are a good football team. We just need a little bit of help.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's pretty much. I mean, obviously their defense is pretty solid. Maybe get a few key pieces, but I'd say just work on the offense and build around Drake May. That's pretty much all the Patriots really need to do. Is just build around Drake May and make sure he's got what he needs.
Yeah, realistically.
Moving on to the Giants. Realistically, they just need a quarterback. I mean, they got their offense is okay. Yeah, they need
Yeah.
some key pieces, but they need some more key pieces. But first things first, you got to get a quarterback. I don't really know what direction you go. A lot of these teams are going to need a quarterback. So they're 2-8 right now. As of right now, they're 2-8. So they're projected first round pick right now. They have the first pick, so I don't really know what direction they're going to lean, but I would imagine that Daniel Jones is not going to come back, or they're going to move on or trade him, or I don't know what their plan is with him.
He's done. He's done in New York. I hate it for him, but I mean, it's just I think this was kind of his year to say, okay, I'm your guy, and it's solidified. But up to this point, he's been anything but. So I think he's
Yeah,
had his time there. I think they just move on, draft a quarterback, but you have to make sure if taking that quarterback, you need to look to make sure he has like protection.
he's
He
going to have
has,
to be ready. Like they're going to need a quarterback that's like NFL ready to play.
yeah. I mean, if they want to win now, yeah, obviously you take the guy who's most NFL ready because I mean it's the number one pick. So if they fall to number one pick, you need to take the guy that's most ready. Either that or you go with somebody that's young enough to where you can get through the growing pains and get through a rebuild with this quarterback and know he's your quarterback.
Hmm. And build around them. Like you said, you got to get them a good offensive line. They got Malik Neighbors. They need a running back,
Yeah,
and they need just a little bit more help on the offensive side. Defensively, they're pretty good. They're solid. Got a good defense.
exactly.
Cleveland Browns, they're the same way. They need a quarterback. Um, Again, same thing. They're kind of in a little bit different situation. Them and the Giants are really good teams. They're just kind of need a quarterback, to be honest. I think with a good quarterback that they could be a mid-level team, maybe a wild card factor. I mean, last year the Browns went to the playoffs.
Yeah,
They made that run.
yeah, and that was
They need a quarterback. Yeah, that was with 40-year-old off the couch Joe Flacco. Imagine if you actually had a good. I mean, I'm not saying Flacco's bad, but imagine if you had like a really good quarterback that you could kind of rely on. We talked about it. The 4 years Deshaun Watson was there, he played 18 games. He played a full season almost.
that's crazy to think
That's
about.
insane. That's insane to think that you gave him all this money for him to play one season. To be honest, he's
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
whether it's been the injury or all the stuff he had going on off the field. It's just that's the biggest. Honestly, he's the biggest bust. Like that's the worst trade in NFL history. Gotta be. I mean, you gave
Yeah,
him what? They gave him what? 300 mil or something like that.
however much it was, I just know it was a lot
Two
for
hundred
him to only
two
get
hundred million dollars. I think it was $200 million or something ridiculous, and it was all fully
just to
guaranteed.
just to get 18 games out of him, and the games he
Yeah,
did play weren't even like you know good.
good. They've been terrible the 4 years that he's been there, but you paid him all that money, so you kind of got to ride it out.
Yeah, you don't really got a choice.
So yeah, they're gonna have to go quarterback, and like you said, you're gonna have to pick somebody that's kind of ready to play because Cleveland's in a spot where they can be pretty good.
Yeah, they are. I
Um,
mean, you need somebody to come in that's going to again, like you said, be. They just have to be ready. Um,
yeah,
Obviously, where they probably would end up picking, I don't think they'll be able to take a quarterback that's absolutely ready. But
I don't know because they may not win another game.
I mean, looking at the draft class, you see a lot of quarterbacks in there that have a lot of experience that were more than just a 1 year starter. So this draft class is a little bit different in terms of
Yeah,
experience
I'm
level.
I'm picking somebody from my perspective. If I'm a bottom team, I'm picking somebody that has experience, that not a one hit wonder, not a 1 year wonder. I want somebody that's kind of battled a few years because you kind of see these quarterbacks that only play for a year or two kind of struggle.
Yeah,
So if I'm one of these bottom teams, I'm picking somebody that's kind of you know shown me okay. They played 3 years. They started all 3 years. They have the experience. Um, The Jaguars, I really don't know what they need to do. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has been here for 4 years, and they're still a bottom team.
It's not all on him though.
I mean, you can only
You can't.
stop pointing the finger so many times. I mean, they've got a really
Yeah,
good
but
team
you can't dump it all on that. No, well, hold on. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's
on
back
paper.
that up.
On paper, they have a better team than half these. They have a look
Mm,
on paper.
that's
They have a better team than the Chargers, and the Chargers are 6-3. On paper,
yeah. I
this is
mean,
on paper.
that's true. Now I'll give you that one. That is true. But on paper and on the field are two completely different things. And like I always tell you, Offset, when we talk about the Jaguars, it's I like Brian Thomas. They got a hit with that one. That was a good pick for them. Trevor Lawrence, you already paid him all the money. If
And you're
this
stuck with him.
continues, yeah, you pretty much stuck with him. So if his play doesn't tick upwards, then you gonna have to make a trade for him and let him go. I mean, as much as you want to keep him, you name your stadium after him and stuff, you gotta let him go. But I tell you all the time, I don't think it's just him. I think it's the byproduct of you let your best receiver walk in the offseason and you went and got another receiver. But I think if they would have kept Calvin Ridley and paired him with Brian Thomas, their offense would be a lot better.
Yeah, because
Trevor,
Christian Kirk can't stay healthy, and Gabe
exactly.
Davis is irrelevant.
Exactly. Now in the running back room, I think you know let let Travis Etienne go. He has too many. It's the injury history, and he can't hold on to the football. There's those two things. Tank
Yep.
Bigsby has looked the part of running back one, so you know let him take that spot and see how it goes. I mean he's been pretty intriguing with the carries that he's
Yeah.
gotten. So why not let him have the workload
Cheaper
and
too.
get you a nice guy to pair with him.
Yeah.
Offensively, just work on the offensive line. Defensively, they got to get back to when Blake Bortles was there. Because even though that offense was mid when he was there, their defense was that good. They made it all the way to the AFC Championship. So if they can
Yeah.
get back to that, then I think, they can put it all together with that, then they'll be good again. But until then, they're just having to suffer through the rebuild right now.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Trevor Lawrence is your future for a little bit, so you got to build around him. Whether that be let Doug Peterson go, maybe you start there, but that's not always the right move. I think they fired their head coach. What Trevor Lawrence has been through what
Two?
two head
I think
coaches.
just one. It's one or two, something like that.
So, but I know they fired somebody on the coaching staff about every year. So yeah, they gotta have to build around Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, work on their defense.
Yeah.
Terrible. Their defense is pretty bad. They do have some good players on their defense, but it's you got to build around Trevor Lawrence. A lot of their games are close. They just can't close out the game.
Exactly.
Jumping to the Tennessee Titans, another team. It seems like every year they're drafting a quarterback, but again, this year you're going to have to. Will Levis is terrible.
He's oh my goodness. He's bad.
Honestly, I think they should have kept Malik Willis because when he played at Green Bay, hey, he played pretty good. I'm not gonna lie to you. He looked really good.
I agree. I don't think Malik Willis really got his fair shot, in all honesty. Um Will Levis he's not it. I get why y'all wanted to take him. I mean, he looked good, but I didn't think that was the right move. And obviously it's showing that it was not the right move. Because that their offense, they had like decent play. I mean, you got Calvin Ridley.
Yeah,
I don't know what
two
other receivers they have,
pretty
but
decent receiver. Or I mean, two pretty decent running backs. They have Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee. I don't think he does a whole lot, but
wait,
um,
I think that guy plays for the Giants. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah, he plays for the Giants.
I thought he
Yeah,
played
nah,
for the Titans.
he got drafted by the Giants. I honestly I haven't heard anything about him, but let's not stray too far off. Yeah, Titans, they can't they really if they're gonna take another quarterback, they really have to do a hard look before they just say, all right, this is gonna be our guy. They need to clearly do more. Like you said, I think they made a mistake letting Malik Willis go because he looked good for Green Bay the few games that he played. So I think they should have stuck with him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like you said, it's you kind of can't go off the hype of somebody just because they were okay. You really, really got to um sit. Traylon Burks is who I was thinking of, not Jalen
Oh
Hyatt.
yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, they got Tyler Boyd, Calvin Ridley, D Hop's gone. So yeah, they pretty much don't have anything. So yeah, they got a lot of work to do, and it's gonna start at the quarterback position. Maybe you can roll with Will Levis one more time. I don't know. I personally wouldn't. He showed you
Yeah,
he can't hold on to the ball and he makes bonehead decisions, and you can't have that. I mean, he's cost them a lot of games. He's cost them a few games, turning the ball over and running around and
yeah,
fumbling the ball, and like, yeah, you can just tell he's. It's not always meant for everybody. Hey, you had your shot, buddy, but you can either go play in the XFL or be a backup somewhere. Stay at Tennessee, be a backup. You never know.
yeah. That's true.
Um, Jumping to the Raiders, you know, another team. Obviously, they need a quarterback. Pretty much all these bottom tier teams need a quarterback. The Raiders
The
need,
Raiders need
they just
a
need
lot.
everything. To be honest,
They
they
need
need
a
a
lot.
whole new offense. I
They
couldn't even
need to.
tell you the only person that they have. Two people that I actually know are Mike Myers and Brock Bowers. That's all. That's all that I know that they got offensively. To be honest,
They need defensive pieces. They need offensive pieces. They need
they need a whole
just
new
about.
team.
They're one of the bottom teams that's realistically going through a full rebuild because they're looking to add guys in just about every area of their team.
They wanted to draft a quarterback last year, and as soon as when Atlanta drafted Michael Penix, that threw the Raiders for a loop. They just drafted Brock Bowers because, to be honest, he was the best available. To be honest, I think they just panicked and just took him. They really didn't need him, but to be honest, because they didn't really
There
have a
was
quarterback, but I mean that was the
yeah,
best option that they had.
there was no other quarterback to take at that point. So I guess they just said, you know what, let's just take the best available. We gonna roll it out this year, and then next year's draft, we're gonna go ahead and look to see if we can get our guy.
Yeah, they need a whole lot. I won't even talk about the Raiders. Obviously, they need, like you said, start with a quarterback. Got to make a good decision here. Um, the Panthers, I I really don't know what their plans are. If they're gonna stick with Bryce, hey, these last two games, I'm not gonna lie to you, he has looked pretty decent
Yeah,
considering he's throwing to I had people you've never even heard of.
exactly.
A kid from Holy Cross, whatever. What was his name?
Jalen Coker.
Jalen Coker. Yeah, and no idea who that even is. I mean, Xavier Leggett's, a rookie, but I think he's been hurt, and he hadn't really been contributing a whole lot, to be honest.
Yeah, I
He's
think they
he's kind
were.
of shown spurts though that he can be good, but
Yeah,
I really
they
don't
were
know what
pretty.
they do. To be honest, I think that's the decision first. Do we stick
Yeah,
with Bryce?
that pretty much like you said. That kind of sparks them in whatever direction they go. So Bryce Young is pretty much at the center of all of this. If he stays, then obviously build around him, get better offensive linemen, draft, trade, whatever you need to do. Just build around him offensively. Make sure he's protected. Get him some weapons.
Yeah, you're gonna have
And
to draft weapons. I would personally, I would get offensive linemen that are already in the league. I would try to make moves in the offseason for offensive linemen and just draft him weapons. Because Bryce Young, he's young. So he can wait. Like, it's
I
not
mean,
the end of the world. Like, he has plenty of time.
Yeah, but I mean there are some there's some pretty good offensive linemen coming up in this draft, so
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that should be a big concern for them though, because their offensive line is pretty bad. I'm not saying draft I'm not saying draft your whole offensive line, but at least one or two guys who you think could, become contributors
yeah.
at some point.
Solid offensive lineman. Yeah, like
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah, I don't know if I would take that with my first pick. I might try to
Oh, no,
get.
no.
It would.
Yeah.
It would depend on where I'm at.
Absolutely not, because they're going to have a top 10 pick. So you got to go. Don't take an offensive lineman top 10.
Yeah, there'll be plenty.
Focus on getting him weapons first, and then kind of look toward, because you can find like offensive linemen in like the third or fourth round that can be studs. It's all about your scouting. How good is your scouting?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like you said, it's the Bryce Young is the question mark. Are they going to keep him? Are they going to move? What are they going to do with him?
Yeah.
Personally, I don't want to admit it, but I probably would stay with him. To be honest, I mean, you just have to be like, okay, is this guy going to come in and do better than Bryce?
Yeah.
Given the same situation, the same circumstances, is this guy going to be a better option? And I don't know.
Exactly.
But moving to the Jets, they're a dumpster fire. I don't know. You got to draft a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is, I hate to say it, but he might be washed. They are god awful considering all the talent that they have on their team. If you sat
Yeah.
down and looked at their team, you would think, how in the world did they 3-7?
Yeah. They're one of those on paper they look like a
Like
Super
you
Bowl
said, they're a
team.
head scratcher. They're really like, man, I get it. He's Aaron Rodgers, but he's also 40 years old. He's
Yeah.
coming off of a really bad injury too. So I don't know. I personally, they have Jordan Travis. We haven't seen him play at all. Maybe give him a shot. Maybe roll with it. I don't know.
Honestly, I think they're
Because
probably gonna.
honestly, like besides that, I really don't know what the Jets would need. They need offensive line. I know that.
Well, that I think besides offensive linemen, they don't really need a whole lot, because I mean you just traded for Devontae Adams. I mean, if let's say I think if Aaron Rodgers randomly retires in the offseason, then maybe Devontae Adams wants out because he's a prima donna. I'm not gonna lie to you. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, offensively, they got a two-headed monster at running back. Their
Yeah.
receivers, they have receivers.
They have Garrett
They
Wilson and well, like you said, they have Devontae Adams, but you never know what he's going to do.
I think either way it goes, you draft a quarterback for regardless of how Aaron Rodgers feels about it, and go ahead and get some offensive linemen too. Because at the end of the day, if you draft a quarterback, he still gets to learn behind Aaron Rodgers. So that's
Yeah,
not a
and
terrible
like I
thing.
said, roll with Jordan Travis. I mean, he was pretty good in college. I don't. We haven't seen him play because he tore his ACL at the end of the year. I don't really know
Yeah,
what he
but
looks like.
no disrespect to him, but even with his injury, I don't even think he would have got drafted that high. I think he still would have went in about the same place, because if you go back and look at his stats throughout that entire season, even before that injury, they were not that great. Like I said, I'm not knocking him or anything, because he's in the NFL, but I
Yeah.
just, I don't really see
So
him. You know,
yeah. So the honorable mentions. These could be in the mid teams. They could be at the bottom barrel. So the honorable mentions are going to go to the Saints, the Dolphins, and the Cowboys. Honestly, all three of them, got hit with injuries pretty hard. Dak just went on season-ending surgery.
yeah,
Tua's still dealing with, he had that concussion, so he missed a lot of football. And then
hmm
the Saints literally went from 2-7 or I mean, 2-0 to 0-7 real quick. I know they beat the Falcons last week. So, they just got to get back healthy. I think they should look at a quarterback, to be honest. You don't really know what Tua's health looks like from a future standpoint. And you can tell When he didn't play, they looked god awful.
Yeah,
I mean, Tua's their guy. I'm going to go ahead and say Tua's their guy, obviously. But you know, if he goes down, they're 3-6, and they have a really good team. It's just when he got hurt, it kind of stopped their momentum because they looked pretty decent until he got hurt.
yeah. I mean,
Hey,
that
the
was
Saints are the Saints are the same way. They looked unstoppable till, and then all of a sudden everybody started getting hurt. Then they went on a 7-game losing streak.
yeah. Everybody getting hurt at the same time for them really kind of derailed all the momentum that they had. Like, so I know you spoke on the Cowboys, so just to touch on them real quick, their season is pretty much done. I mean,
I
everybody,
think it was over before Dak got hurt.
it definitely was because their defense was just really bad and their offense wasn't that much better. So honestly, I didn't really see them making a run. I felt like they were gonna move out of that mid-tier team list into the trash team list, anyways. Because they're another one of those teams that on paper they look like a Super Bowl contender with all the talent, but on the field, it just didn't add up.
Yeah, I
So
mean, you paid Dak $60 million and CeeDee Lamb all this money, and where are they at?
exactly. They got their money and they just disappeared. So Saints, I think they're one of those teams that, like you said, if they can get fully healthy, I think there's a chance they can make a run, maybe make it the Super Wild Card weekend. Either that or they're just right there on the outside looking in. But it
Yeah,
was encouraging because, like you said, they beat the Falcons. Falcons are they're a pretty good team. I'm not going to say they're one of the contending teams, but they're pretty good. I think
yeah.
they keep playing the way that they've been playing, and they can kind of push themselves into maybe they can make a run for a Super Bowl. But
But I say I have Atlanta in my top teams. I mean, they're the top in their division. So I mean,
yeah,
for the
so
Saints to come out and pretty much beat them with just Derek Carr and Valdez Scantling, I mean,
exactly. And for the Dolphins is pretty much the same thing. I mean, their starting quarterback went down with a concussion and missed like 3 games. So obviously that derailed all the momentum they could have had. And instead of 6-3, they're sitting at what 3 and whatever, three
yeah,
and
they're three and
seven,
six.
3-6, 3-7. So yeah, like for them, it's the same thing. Like Tua's back now. Let's let's get comfortable again, and let's see if we can pick this momentum back up and make a playoff push. They're again one of those teams that, like the Saints, maybe they can make a run and get the Super Wild Card weekend, or just be right there on the outside looking in, which is unfortunate, but you know it leaves you a lot of promise for the upcoming season.
Yeah. Jumping to the mid teams, the mid level teams, like you said, probably the outside looking in for some of these teams. Maybe some of these teams can make a run, turn things around. Starting off with the mid teams, let's start off with the Cincinnati Bengals. Um, I don't know if they're going to make a run. They've got to win a lot of games and not lose very many more. And based off what I've seen, I don't know if they're going to do that. Their defense, obviously, offensively, they're fine. Offensive line, obviously may need some work. You can argue everybody's offensive line needs some work,
To
but
a degree.
their struggles are it's the defensive side. It doesn't matter. I mean, Joe Burrow threw for 430 yards and Chase had 265, and they still got beat.
Yep.
So all their whole draft needs to be defense.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly,
Maybe maybe
honestly,
maybe a running back later in the draft. But defensively, that's where your everything needs to go. They're going to pay Chase. It's just a matter of time. So, I mean, he's pretty much showed that, he's going to get every penny that he can get out of him.
yeah, that's true.
That or you got to let him go. And I don't see that. I don't think that there's any way, any argument you can make to let him go. If they let him go, they're going to fire whoever does it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right with you on what you said. I don't really see them making a run because their defense is just too bad, and their offense can only do so much. So like
Yeah,
when the offense can't get in the end zone, you have to rely on the defense to stop the other team from getting in, and they're not doing
and
that
they can't do
enough.
that. Yep, yep,
Yeah, so it'd be hard for them to make that run to even, let's say, get into the playoffs or get the wild card weekend because their defense is going to lose them too many games.
yep. So yeah, that's where I would go if I'm the Bengals. Defense, defense, and a running back is where I'd go. I like the receivers. They're young. Obviously, T. Higgins probably won't be there, so I would trade T. Higgins. I would not let him just walk. I would try to get something, but one way or another, he's probably not going to be in a Bengals uniform. I wouldn't think so anyway.
Doesn't seem like it.
I don't think there's enough money. Plus, he hasn't played a whole lot this year anyway. And I don't know if that's because they've pretty much told him, look, man, we're just going to we're going to trade you or let you walk. So whether you want to play, that's on you. I feel like if they paid him, he'd be playing, to be honest. But moving to the Broncos, they're actually a pretty good team. They're one of those teams I'm kind of surprised that they're doing so well, to be honest. Bo Nix
Um,
is playing really well, and he's kind of under the radar a little bit. Yeah, he's not really throwing for a whole lot of yards, but he's doing a lot better than people thought he was going to do.
oh yeah, he's definitely exceeded expectations, and he benefits from the fact that he has like an elite defense that he can fall back on. So, um,
Yeah, a good defense, a good head coach. He's not
yeah,
asking Bo Nix to do too much. Hey
yeah,
man, we gotta. They're playing. That's what Sean Payton always did. They had a really good defense in New Orleans. Hey man, we're not asking you to do too much. You go down here and score 20 points. Our defense is going to hold them to 17.
yeah. So he's in the perfect situation because he has his offense is. I'm not saying it's elite by any means, but they have players who make plays.
Yeah, I mean,
So
Cortland Sutton's pretty solid. I mean, yeah, he's
exactly,
got good key pieces. They're young.
yep.
So, yeah, it's people you've never really heard of, to be honest, on their defense. But hey, they're playing good football. That's all that matters.
And the biggest thing is he's protected. His offensive line is in a good condition. Everybody's healthy. They got some good guys across the offensive line. So he doesn't have to run around for his life or try to, make a play out of panic. So,
Right, exactly. Jumping to the Colts, they have a big decision to make whether it's going to be stay with Anthony Richardson or not. There's a question mark there. They benched him. I think they're going to see what that did.
kind of like the
Was it the
Bryce
right
Young
move?
situation.
Yeah, like, everybody gets benched, whether, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. I think from now on, you ride him out.
Yeah.
If you lose every game and he's playing like trash, honestly, you got to let him go. I mean, I know it's early. I know he's young, you just draft him, but
In
if
all
he,
honesty,
I think you
he,
just got to move on if he hasn't shown you anything promising.
yeah, I think he's one of those guys, like how you were talking about, one of those, like, he wasn't even like a 1 year wonder at Florida. Like
He
he
had an okay season.
Yeah, I think it was really his draft combine that got him drafted that high,
Yeah,
but
he's got a
sometimes
cannon
that's
for an arm. He's huge. He's big. He can run. He's honestly he's what you want. Just he's just not that.
yeah, and then he missed his whole rookie season too. So you got to think he hasn't really had
He hasn't
enough
played.
experience. Yeah, he hasn't
Yeah,
played enough.
he hasn't played. He hasn't not played a lot of football. He started what 1 year at Florida,
Yeah.
and then he's played about maybe 10 games in the
I mean,
NFL, maybe, and that's probably pushing it.
honestly though, he didn't even look terrible in his rookie season and then he got hurt and he comes back and I don't know if he just,
Because
didn't.
they have a pretty good team. The Colts do.
Yeah, no, they got the Colts have a solid team. They're another one of those teams with a good offensive line. They have a solidified run game. They have the receivers who can make plays again, and the good
Yeah.
rotational guys who can come in and, like I said, make plays. Their defense is not terrible,
Okay. Yeah, but I said it's not terrible.
so I it's very, like I said, it's one of those situations where it falls on him, but you kind of feel sorry for him because he just hasn't played enough. So he has to. You have to. It's growing pains. He's a rookie quarterback. He got hurt, so he basically missed all of his rookie season. So this is truly his rookie season this year.
Yeah, and he's not playing very well.
Yeah,
So, I mean, these last couple games, he's going to have to kick it in gear if he wants to have a chance at being I don't know if I don't know if they'd move on from him, but he's going to have to show improvement quick.
yeah,
Um, Jumping to the Chargers, they're a little bit closer to making a run. They're playing pretty well. To be honest, I didn't think they were going to be very good. They don't have anybody.
yeah. They got a bunch of young people.
Yeah, I mean, brought in a new head coach, and hey, they're looking pretty good. I think you just got to build around Justin Herbert. They got a good defense. Um, Build around Justin Herbert. That's pretty much all you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I didn't really expect them to be as good as they are right now. Do I think they're a Super Bowl contending team? Probably not, but I think they probably, they give a team a scare in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Um, Justin Herbert, like you said, build around him. He's clearly the guy for LA. And they went out and got J.K. Dobbins. He was a cast away from the Ravens because of his injury history. Completely understandable, but he's looked good for them as their starting running back. Receiving wise, they went out and got Lad McConkey from Georgia, and he's looked good. So it's like the Chargers are one of those organizations where they make good picks. So
yeah,
it works out for them. So clearly
yep.
their picks from the draft and the moves they made in the offseason and, bringing in
I know John Harbaugh drafted some guys from Michigan, and it makes sense. He worked with them.
yeah.
He's a
So
really, people can say what they want to say about Harbaugh. He's a
he's a
good
good
coach.
coach. Yeah,
Look,
he's a great coach.
he's been to the Super Bowl. I mean, he just won the national championship. People can say what they want to say,
Yeah.
but he was really good at the 49ers.
Yeah.
Really
I
good
mean
coach.
he's done it. He's done it. So I mean, like you said, he was the perfect guy.
Yeah. Jumping to the Bears, they need offensive linemen bad. I don't know. I see all the hate Caleb Williams is getting, and I understand why people are mad. You know, he's supposed to be the saving grace. He
Yeah.
was supposed to be, hey, we're going to the playoffs, and I mean, they haven't scored a touchdown in 2 weeks. They're
Yeah.
kicking field goals, and he's getting killed. He got sacked 9 times last week, 9 times by the Patriots, and then he got sacked 7 times or 7 or 8 times the week before. He's been running for his life. He's going to get hurt.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, they got to build their offensive line. They went out and did everything else, but I think they just left the offensive line lacking. Like you talked about, all said they should have not drafted Rome Odunze and went out and got a stud offensive lineman. Not saying that would have helped across the entire offensive line, but if that guy is there, you kind of don't need to pass up on that because you already had two really good wide receivers. Why take a
Yeah,
Dunze when you could have took somebody to protect
protect him.
your
Yeah,
quarterback?
I mean, he's
Yeah.
getting killed right now. I mean, you had
So
DeAndre Swift. You got a good tight end. Yeah, you got weapons. I don't really know. Yeah, that pick was kind of weird.
I think
Um,
out of all the mid teams, this is probably one of the ones where it's like a 50-50 whether or not they make it. They make that
yeah,
run to the
they got
playoffs.
they got work to do. Yeah, I mean, what I've seen the last 2 games, Caleb Williams has played terrible. That's not all on him. Some of it is, you got to get rid of the ball. You can't take those sacks, but he really hadn't had much of a choice. He's been just back there running for his life. Um,
they gotta change the scheme because one thing that I see with them is that with the weapons that he has, he just has to. They got to change the scheme to where he can get the ball out faster. A lot of those sacks that came against the Patriots were covered sacks because nobody was open downfield. So
yeah, they're like they gotta make it simpler or make it where he has check downs or
something,
something. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, they just gotta. I mean, yeah, protect Caleb Williams because I mean, he had a lot of. If he didn't pan out, I'm sorry, but the Bears are going to be a disaster if he doesn't pan out.
yeah,
Jumping to Green Bay, um, they're another team. Yeah, they're really good. Um, Jordan Love has gotten hurt a couple times this year,
concerning.
so concerning. Yeah, can he stay healthy the rest of this slate? Malik Willis came in, and hey, they won. They won both games he played.
Yeah,
Obviously, they went out and got Josh Jacobs, and that was huge because he's been kind of the backbone of what they want to do. They want to line up and they want to play old school, smash mouth, run it down your throat football.
exactly.
So I like Green Bay. I like kind of the moves they made. Yeah, they moved on from Aaron Jones, but I think it was a little bit of an upgrade getting Josh Jacobs because it's what they want to do.
Yeah,
I don't really know what all Green Bay needs. I know they're a young team. I know they got Romeo Dobbs. They got I'm not even gonna sit here and go to the list of names, but I know they got a young team. So I think they'll be all right. Like you said, I probably fix their defense a little bit. I know their defense is it's okay, and maybe get you know a little bit better weapons for Jordan Love. Maybe a stud wide receiver because I don't think they really. I mean, they got like Christian Watson and people like that, but they don't really have like a like you said, a take the top off the defense kind of guy. They
yeah,
do, but it's not like a big name guy. I know they got a good team. I kind of like what they're doing. So honestly, they're the kind of team that just takes the best available. To be honest, you know what I mean?
yeah.
They
I
kind of
was,
just go where they need pieces filled. Like they don't really just we need this. Like they just kind of take the best available.
yeah, I was probably gonna say the same thing. You know, Jordan Love just really needs to stay healthy. I mean, I feel like the rest of their season pretty much depends on his health.
Yeah,
You like Malik Willis, but obviously you want Jordan Love there because he's
they just
experienced with
paid
that
him too.
offense. Yeah, he's experienced with that offense, and he can do a lot of the things that Malik Willis can't right now. So that, and then like you said, they probably could definitely stand to get a solidified wide receiver one. Other
Yeah,
than
I
that, I
mean,
think they're good. They
yeah, I
got
mean they
running
have a
back.
they have them a good little team. It's just their wide receivers are really good. I'm not going to take anything away from them. They're 6-3, so obviously something's working.
Yeah,
It's just, I mean, but like I said, they're a really good team. They just fill spots that are needed.
exactly.
Jumping to the Rams, let's try to run through some of these kind of quick here. Jumping to the Rams, I don't really know what 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 they're gonna do in the offseason, whether that be go after a quarterback, because they're one of those teams that, they got hit by the injuries, so they're kind of in the middle right now. Like you said, 50-50. Puka um got in a little bit of an altercation a couple games ago. Cooper Cup's back healthy now, and they're playing pretty good, but I don't know. They're 50-50. They got to stay healthy. I don't know if they're going to try to go get a quarterback. Matthew Stafford is on the older side. So maybe you want to get somebody in and let him learn behind Matthew Stafford for a little bit. I know they got Stinson Bennett, but I don't know if that's the way they're going to lean or what.
I don't even know if he's right there. No, you remember he took a whole year just he was mentally stable. So I mean,
He's still in LA.
yeah, no, I know
He
he's
came
still
back.
in
He
LA.
came back
Just
this year.
he is like I don't
So
know. You know, that's a whole year you took. I'm pretty sure he'll like practice it not with the team or whatever. But I mean,
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like you said, he took off the whole year for that mental health stuff or whatever he had going on.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, they're another solid team. I don't really know what way they're going to go. They might look at a quarterback, especially if somebody's nice is sitting there. So you never know. And
exactly.
whoever it is, work on the offensive line, work on the defense. Um, the mid-level teams are kind of the teams that really don't get these top picks per se. They're usually more towards the back stretch. There's still some good players, but they've never really get that true top five pick every now. They do every now and then because sometimes injuries.
Yeah, I mean,
But
honestly, even with the mid-level teams, it's more so like I always tell you, it's about your organization. Like, does your organization do their due diligence when it comes to like scouting, actually looking into a lot of these players, and stuff like that? Because a lot of times, top five picks don't always work out. Some of these guys get traded in
yep,
like the second or third year,
yeah.
and some of these
I
guys
mean,
find studs in
that goes back to the Colts. The Colts
yeah,
drafted Anthony Richardson number 5, and he's not playing like a top 5 pick.
yeah, and then you like I said,
Um,
you can find studs in like the third, fourth, fifth, sixth round sometimes if you get lucky enough. I mean, 49ers got Mr. Irrelevant. He took them to the Super Bowl, but I'll
yeah,
save that
almost
for
twice. Yeah,
another
let's run through some of these
episode.
because we're gonna run short on time here. Um, so we got the 49ers. Speaking of them, yeah, they got Brock Purdy. They paid Brandon Ayuk. Don't know what they're going to do with Debo. Brandon Ayuk tore his ACL. Um, they're another one of those teams that really. Hey, that rookie Ricky Pearsall, their rookie. Hey, he
He's
looks
pretty
pretty
good.
good to be
Yeah,
honest. They're another one of those teams that really realistically don't really need a lot. They're going to have to pay a lot of money in the offseason. So that's going to happen. But they're not. They really don't really need a whole lot to be honest. They're fixing to have to shell out some money, and that's going to be tough. So, if you're a 49ers fan, just get ready because you can't pay everybody. That's not how this works.
yeah, they're gonna
And
have some tough decisions.
Brock Purdy's going to get one of them $50 million contracts. That's just how. I mean, he's been to the Super Bowl almost twice. He
Yeah,
went to the Super Bowl. Then, if he wouldn't have got hurt the first time, they would have went to the Super Bowl. May have even won it.
I think
Um,
I think
I think a decision has to be made in the run game whether you're going to keep McCaffrey. I know you signed him to an extension, but they're Jordan Mason and Garendo, or I think that's how you pronounce his name, are playing really good. So, that's what do you do there? Maybe you trade Jordan Mason because people seen what he could do. Maybe trade him for some upside. But,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, the 49ers really don't need a whole lot. They're just going to have to whip out that checkbook here pretty soon. So, really not a whole lot to talk about with them.
yeah,
Um, the Seahawks, I think they're probably going to lean quarterback here,
more
depending
than
on
likely.
what their record looks like. You know, hats off to Geno Smith. He revived his career in Seattle. You know, got him a good payday, but I feel like his time there is done, to be honest. Great
Yeah,
bridge quarterback, can get you to the promised land, but going to throw for a lot of yards. But I think they're going to lean quarterback here. Um, Another young team. They got a good. They got two good wide receivers in DK. There was speculation that they were going to trade DK, but they haven't done it yet.
maybe
Uh,
next year.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know what the problem is there. I don't know if he wants out. or if they just don't want to pay him all this big money that he's probably fixing to ask for. But yeah, they're probably going to go quarterback. But yeah, they're on the outside looking in too. A really solid team if they can just stay healthy. That's been their main problem. DK's hurt. I think that's going to hurt him come contract time because he can't
Yeah,
really stay healthy himself.
that's true.
Um, they need some help on the defensive side, but I mean, first things first, you got to figure out your quarterback situation if you're going to roll with Geno for a couple more years or what the
Yeah,
situation is going to be there.
with the quarterbacks coming up in this draft class, I think I'd probably say it's better for them to go ahead and pull the trigger on the quarterback just because you want to go ahead and get somebody in, let them learn behind Geno. So when Geno, y'all ready to move on, y'all got somebody who can step in that's
And is ready to go.
comfortable, yeah, with the reps and stuff, like as
Yeah,
far
with
as,
the system that
getting
you're
reps with
trying to run.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah. The Bucks, they're a really good team. They just got hit by injuries. They lost their two top wide receivers, and that's tough. Chris Godwin, I don't know if he's going to come back next year because he is a free agent. Um, they've already extended Mike Evans, so he's not going anywhere. I like what they got in the run game with Bucky Irvin and whatever their other guy's name is. I can't think of his name. My mind went blank. Um,
I couldn't tell you.
I can't think of his name. My mind went blank. So whoever it is, if y'all want to post it in the comments, I can't think of his name. My mind went blank. But they're a good team. They just got hit by the injury bug. I think I like what Baker Mayfield's doing. They obviously signed him to an extension in the offseason, and he's playing like it.
Yeah.
People were saying that he was going to be terrible, and I told you this last year that Baker Mayfield was going to thrive. I know it's a good team, but and even Baker came out and said it. When you're on a good team, you're going to play well. They have a
Yeah, of
good
course.
organization, have a good coach, have a
Yeah.
good defense. He's playing. To be honest, before everybody got hurt, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. He was playing really well, like MVP level football,
No, he was. I mean, he lost both of his top two receivers, and
and he's still
he's
getting his.
yeah, he's still playing good even without his top two guys. So, I mean, you
Sure,
just
they're
got to
not
think.
winning games, but that's not really his fault.
Yeah, it's pretty much like you said. It's pretty much like you said. It's a byproduct of them getting hit with the injury. So, it sucks, especially at the time where they kind of really needed to make that playoff push. But I think it'd be hard for them to do that without their best two guys. I think Mike Evans comes back in like another week or two or something like that.
Maybe, yeah, maybe, yeah, I think
Um,
so. Chris
so
Godwin
maybe,
broke his leg, so yeah, he won't
yeah,
be
no,
back.
he's done. Maybe if they can get Mike Evans back and win a couple games in his absence, then I think maybe they can make a push and get to the playoffs. But I think without him, it'd be kind of tough to do.
Yeah, because they can't really make that push. They can't really close the game.
Yeah,
The Texans, another team that got kind of hit by the injuries. Losing Nico Collins, losing Stephon Diggs. That was huge,
yeah,
especially Nico Collins because he was cooking. I mean, he was on pace for 2,000 yards and got hurt. I don't know. I think he's supposed to come back in the next week or two.
yeah,
I don't really think. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I really don't. There's really no rush. So the Texans are a good team. Build around C.J. Stroud. I like what they did. They're another team. Really don't really need anything, to be honest. Jumping to the Cardinals. Um, another solid team. I don't know what they're doing with Marvin Harrison. He has flashes of really good, then he has flashes of where he just disappears.
yeah. I mean, that's expected though. You got to think he's their best wide receiver, so he's not going to get his every game because obviously people are going to play people over
Like
the top. They're going to double team him.
they've showed highlights of him being wide open, and it's like I don't know where Kyler Murray's throwing the ball.
Yeah, so honestly, I did not expect them to be where they are because I thought once they kind of like, you know, uh I just didn't think Marvin Harrison and then whatever other moves that they made were going to move the needle for them that much going into this season. I thought they were going to be more in the trash area, so I'm really surprised to see them in like the mid tier teams. So you'd like for them to make a playoff push just because you want to see what they would look like in that playoff atmosphere, but it might be tough for
Yeah,
them again because, like you said,
it's
I mean, you got
a
highlights where
lot of it's on. Yeah, I mean, you never really know what Kyler Murray you're going to see. He can look like a superstar, and then they can look terrible. They're like
yeah,
a two. They're kind of two different teams sometimes. I know a lot of teams can
exactly,
look like that, but the Cardinals can look really good, and they can also look really, really bad.
yeah.
So that's pretty much it for the mid teams. Let's jump to the top teams. Um, so the top teams are going to include the Lions, the Vikings, the Commanders, the Eagles, the Falcons, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Bills.
Okay, real
So
quick before we hop into, it, I just got a quick question. Quick question. Out of all
okay,
these teams, because obviously we got both conferences in this list right here. Out of all these teams, these 9 teams, AFC, NFC, who do you think comes out?
I'm gonna say the Lions in Baltimore.
Okay, nice. I like it.
I like Kansas City. I mean, they're undefeated, but their kicker just went on IR. So I don't know how much more they can take. They're literally escaping games with their defense and special teams at this point.
Exactly.
So losing Harrison Butker, well, all right, we'll start with Kansas City.
Okay.
Um, so they just put Harrison Butker on IR. That's huge. Kickers are scarce, especially I don't know who their backup kicker is.
I couldn't tell you. Kickers are you could literally just put anybody out there, but that doesn't mean they're gonna. Harrison Bucker basically has a lot of experience, so that's a big blow for them because they might need him next game to stay undefeated by kicking a game-winning field goal. But
Yeah,
instead, they got to trot out some guy who maybe they just go out and sign a random kicker who has the experience, but maybe he's not Harrison
obviously
Bucker,
that's a lot.
obviously.
That's a lot of pressure too, because Butker has been in this situation all season to kick
Exactly.
these game-winning field goals. I don't really know who they got. I don't really know if he played last week. I'm not sure, but for Kansas City to be undefeated with everything that they've been facing with injuries to Pacheco to their wide receivers, it's impressive to be honest. Their defense is probably number one to be honest, because that's what's winning them games. It sure ain't Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't see them going undefeated, especially now with kickers are that's a huge part, especially if they get hurt. Because like you said,
Yeah.
it's the pressure and maybe he hadn't played in Kansas City. Maybe it's kicking in different places kind of means something.
Yeah. I mean,
Um, so yeah, I mean,
honestly, I have Kansas City making it to the conference championship. I got them versus the Ravens, but based on how that first game went against the Ravens when they played earlier on in the season, I think the Ravens would definitely win in a
yeah,
rematch.
Harrison Butker kicked the game-winning field goal. Did he not?
I'm pretty sure he did, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm pretty sure too. If not, they won by 7. They won by a score. I know that. I don't know if it was 7 or 3, or if he kicked the game-winning
Yeah,
field goal to
so
beat them. Or
like you said, I like Kansas City, but I just don't. I think there's a good chance that they ride out the season undefeated. I mean, it's there, it's possible, but like you said, the injuries keep up. Then I don't see it happening. I don't see them trying to make that Super Bowl run. Obviously, without a kicker, you need your kicker, especially in Super Bowl moments. So
yeah, playoffs. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. So that's 4 weeks. So I mean, he'd be back for the playoffs depending on how bad he's hurt.
yeah,
Um, let's jump to Baltimore. Um, another really good team. Them picking up Derrick Henry was huge. They went and signed Deontay Johnson,
yeah,
so that was huge. He hadn't really been a whole big part, but hey, it's another piece. They just got to work on their defense because they really can't. Their defense is really what's kind of holding them back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much the reason they lost 3 games. Their defense is they got the number one run defense, but have the 32nd pass defense. It's weird. Literally, they have the number one run defense, but then yet they have the worst pass defense.
Yeah, and I mean,
As
it's
long as Lamar doesn't get hurt or Derrick Henry gets hurt, and they do what they've been doing, they'll be fine.
yeah,
Especially getting into the playoffs because teams are going to be banged up. I probably wouldn't run Derrick Henry into the ground if I didn't have to, so I can save him to run him into the ground into the playoffs. You don't want him beat up more than you need to.
yeah. No, that's facts. That's pretty much like you said. As long as their offense stays intact and healthy, I think they have the ability to make that run. If the defense can
It's now
find
or
their
never.
Yeah, if the defense can find their footing, though, I think they're primed for a Super Bowl run. They could possibly win the whole thing. But defensively, I think if they make the title push, I think their defense is probably what could cost them.
Yeah, could be. But yeah, I like Baltimore. They're a really good team. Um, let's jump to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's another team, really good. Playing some pretty good football. Got a really good defense. Russell Wilson doesn't have to do too much because they
Yeah,
can rely on their defense to hold somebody to 20 points or 10 points or 17 or whatever. They're a really good team. They brought in Mike Williams. He
exactly.
scored a touchdown last week, a game winning touchdown at that.
Yeah,
So they got a really good team. I think they got a decision to make. Are they going to keep Justin Fields or what are they going to do? Um, but they're another team. Really doesn't need a whole lot. They pretty much got a good team. So they'll like I said, these teams just take the best available unless they just want somebody or somebody falls in their lap or something like that.
yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely. I mean,
Pittsburgh could make a run too. I mean, they play
yeah,
Baltimore Sunday,
yeah,
so I think Pittsburgh is going to be one of those scary teams because their defense is so good.
yeah, and Russell Wilson, like I said, he's been playing really good. I mean, like I said in our early episode this week, he's got fresh legs. So I mean,
Yeah,
going into the playoffs, like they're looking good. Like as far as making that run, like you said, I think honestly they're definitely in the picture.
let's jump to Buffalo. Buffalo's playing pretty good. They play Miami this week, so that's a huge game, divisional game, conference game at that, divisional game. So, um, again, they got to stay healthy. They got a pretty good run game with Cook and Davis. They got Amari Cooper. They got Keon Coleman. So their defense is getting healthier. They're getting better.
Yeah,
So Buffalo might be one of those teams. This could be the year that Buffalo maybe makes a run here.
yeah, it's possible. It's definitely possible. Like I
Because
said, that
Josh Allen is definitely playing high level football right now. He's kind of putting the team on his back a little bit.
yeah,
As long as he doesn't turn the ball over, because that's kind of his big thing. Is he plays really good, but he turns the ball over a lot sometimes too.
yeah.
Let's
For them, they just need to get Amari Cooper healthy, and I think that kind of helps. You know, that helps them make that push towards the Super Bowl.
Yeah, let's run through a couple of these real quick. I know we're running short on time. Um, let's do two at the same time. Let's run through Atlanta and the Eagles. The Eagles, obviously, you know, we got to stay healthy. Another one, AJ Brown's hurt, not hurt, but he gets hurt sometimes. He's hurt pretty much a lot, to be honest.
That's
They got to
true.
keep Devontae Smith healthy. They got to keep Saquon healthy.
Yeah,
Their defense is really young. Um, but yeah, I mean, the Eagles are playing really good football. They just got to stay healthy. And I think they could probably make a run. Last year you hate to see what they did. They went from the best team in the NFL to the
Yeah,
worst
that
team in the NFL. They fell off the face of the planet. I really don't know what happened there.
yeah, they just had a really bad run towards the end of last season and going into the playoffs. It was ugly to see, but now you got again, you brought in Saquon. That was probably one of the biggest things they did in the offseason. You brought in Saquon, they had a really good draft, and everything's pretty much coming together for them. So
Yeah,
like you said, stay healthy on the offensive side of the ball and just continue to improve defensively. And I think, they're another one. It's a theme right now for all these teams that we're talking about. They pretty much just need to stay healthy and look to make that playoff push.
yeah. Let's jump to Atlanta. Atlanta's one of those teams that they could fall in this mid tier. They're just top in their division.
Yeah.
So they could be sitting on the outside looking in. I don't think they will be because they're going to win their division more than likely.
Yeah. They just
Um, they're one of those teams where they play really good, but then they get beat by somebody they shouldn't, like the Saints.
yeah. Great example.
Um, so I think that they just got to get things figured out a little bit. They got a really good team. They got a good defense. I think they just got caught sleeping on
Yeah.
the Saints. Like I think they thought, well, this is the Saints. They've lost 7 in a row. They done gave up. This will be an easy win. We're going to go in here. We're going to blow them out. And then it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
I like the Falcons. They got Kirk Cousins. He's a veteran. That's kind of who you want to lean on, especially right now. And when you get into the playoffs, is somebody that's not going to, make mistakes. And Kirk Cousins really hasn't been a playoff. Hadn't really been there too many times.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I like the Falcons. They're a good team. Let's jump to the Commanders. I don't know if they're going to make a push. Their defense is probably going to. I think they'll make the playoffs, but their defense is going to cause them to lose games. And they're really not. They're scoring points. It's just their defense. They can't rely on their defense to stop somebody,
Yeah, but
especially if they're kicking field goals because their field goal kicker got hurt
I
last week. So
I think for the Commanders, I think it ties into each other. Obviously, you need your defense to stop teams, but you also need your offense to sustain drives and score points. Like you said, the reason why you felt like they couldn't make a Super Bowl run is because they don't score enough points. And I saw that in that Philly game. So I think you're right on that. They look really good. I think maybe they don't make that Super Bowl run this year, but I think if they go into the, off season and continue to add to what they've done in this past off season, I think that was definitely there for them next year.
yeah, because obviously Jaden Daniels was the right decision. That goes without saying. He's going to win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Um, Based off what they got on offense, they're doing a lot better than what I thought they were going to do. They
Yep.
just got to get them a few key pieces, work on their defense. I think they're going to be a really good team, especially if
Yep.
they can
That's
keep
true.
Daniels healthy. That's key number one.
Yeah.
Um, let's jump to the Vikings here. They were a team that they were undefeated at one point. Uh they lost 2 in a row. They won Saturday barely, but they won, or Sunday, sorry. So, hey, the Vikings are another one of those teams like they're kind of hitting a halt. I don't really know what's happening. I don't know if the pressure is getting to Sam Darnold, if he's buckling under the pressure, but they look good, but then they look bad at the same time.
Yeah. They're one of those teams that could go either way towards the end of the season. I think if Sam Arnold can get back to where he was, like in that first, like that little undefeated point before lost that first game, even if the game he still played good. I think that they're another one of those teams that could, catch three. But he has to pick his play back up though, for sure. He's their
Yeah, for sure. They gotta start getting it figured out.
yeah.
Excuse me. Um, and then wrapping this up, in my opinion, this is the best team, and it's the Detroit Lions. Um, For them to throw for Jared Goff to throw 5 picks and then still win the game shows how much grit that this team has. That shows how good that defense is.
Yeah, that defense is solid because 5 picks and y'all still win is insane.
Yeah. I mean, he threw 5 interceptions, and for you to kick a game winning field goal shows how good that defense is. So I don't know if I
Yeah,
want to play the Detroit Lions right now. Dan Campbell is the coach you want. You can tell he's emotionally involved. He loves his guys. He'd run through a brick wall for any of them, and they would do the same for him. They pretty much sent Jared Goff there to die. For his career was over. They were
yeah,
patient. They built around him. Now look at them. They are a juggernaut in the NFL.
exactly.
They got a really good team, 2 really good receivers, a two-headed monster at running back, Jared Goff slinging that thing, a good offensive line, and a really good defense. Them bringing in Zadarius Smith hasn't even played yet, so I'm curious to see what kind of impact he's going to have.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously they're co-favorites to make it to the Super Bowl and probably win it all. I mean, they got the team that's for the run. I mean,
As
that
long as they don't make mistakes like they did last year, going for it instead of taking the points. Maybe he learned from that mistake.
I hope so.
Maybe their field goal kicker wasn't that good. Maybe that's what it is because I know that they kind of went through some kickers here lately. They
Yeah,
found
that's
the guy from the XFL. I think his name's Bates. I'm not really sure what his name is, so drop it in the comments of what the kicker for the Detroit Lions name is. But hey, he's kicked back to back weeks, game winning field goals.
yeah.
So yeah, in my opinion, the Lions are the best team. They're my favorite to win the Super Bowl, especially the way they're playing. But that is going to wrap up the mid-season for the NFL. That's all I got.
Yeah, for everybody out there, sorry we ran a little short on the time, so we'll kind of retool this when we do something like this going forward. This is another one of like our bigger projects per se. So, moving
Yeah.
forward, we'll look back at it, see what we can change, what we can do better. So, yeah, that's it for this episode. Obviously, as always, we appreciate y'all tuning in. Just continue to like, comment, subscribe, share, um, let everybody about us and everything in between. So, again, just we appreciate everybody up to this point. We got a lot of fun stuff coming, and yeah, that's it. That's it for us. We'll catch you on the next episode.